Okay, Bramborough back with some more Grand Tactician Civil War CSA campaign in the 1.06 beta. And right at the tail end of the last episode, a battle had started over in Missouri where a rather smallish, surprisingly smallish, federal army, the Army of Tennessee, attacked Price near Rolla. So this is going to be the second battle of Rolla, Missouri. And we have a pretty overwhelming troop advantage to the extent where I wasn't really sure I even wanted to record this battle. However, I certainly didn't want to auto-resolve it because weird things happen in auto-resolve. So I hear. I can't even remember the last time I auto-resolved a tactical field battle. I guess we could have experimented with that. But in any case, it is a meeting situation. Our entry point was way over here. But even though it's a meeting situation, it gave us control of the objective, which is way back here. The federal starting position is, this is their entry point. They don't have any others. Our deployment zone pretty much covered almost the entire map. And then we have this, you can see from the shape of the deployment zone that it is mostly determined by circular arcs overlapping each other, and whenever you see one of these flat spots in the deployment zone, that is an indicator that that is where the two sides deployment zones butt up against each other, right? So here's the intersection. Whenever you see one of these flat spots, it is a pretty good indicator that that's where the Federals are. Now, it's just their deployment zone. Doesn't always work out like that. But I have found that that is a pretty good indicator. And given that that is their only entry point, he's got to be just right over here, just out of the field of vision. Sometimes you can just take a unit and just during deployment zone and stick it right on one of these boundaries where it's flat like this, and boom, you'll just get vision of where the enemy is. Didn't happen here, which kind of surprised me a little bit. So anyway, he's just right back here somewhere. I am 99% sure. And he's going to want to go toward the objective. So I think it's very unlikely he's going to come down this shuffle road this way and bypasses through Willow Garden. I think it's unlikely. I think he's just going to come down this road this way. And we're going to be right here to meet him. However, just in case, I'm going to take the Cav, Van Dorn's Cavalry, which is Marmaduke's Brigade. And I'll just put him down over here. And he'll make sure that that's not what's happening. And if that's the case, hopefully, if we can see him early and he happens to come down here, which is very unlikely, but just in case, we'll still have time to reorient forces down here to Willow Garden and meet him there instead. All right. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think he's going to be spotted very quickly, and we're going to have fighting pretty soon, just with the focus of it kind of right along this creek bed where the road crosses it. Let me talk a little bit about creeks, just in general, right? And their effect. This right here, along in here, it looks like a creek. It isn't. This is not a creek. This, laid out, sprawling across the battlefield like this, camouflaged as a creek, is a freaking rattlesnake. That's what I think about creeks in this game. Stay the hell away from them. Why? Well, because they just screw you up, man. They do. They do. Okay, let's get the pluses out of the way first. They offer a cover bonus. All right, if you've got a unit arrayed along a creek in here, they will get a little bit of cover. it's not much. It's a creek actually provides the lowest cover bonus of any type of terrain, 15%. Almost, not almost, everything. Everything else is higher. A fence, forest, stone walls, you know, I mean, obviously the things like fortifications and stone walls are going to be higher, but forests are higher, fences are higher. You only get 15% along a creek. Meanwhile, the negative effects of creek terrain are huge. Okay? I haven't seen actual numbers in the manual. I have seen a Steam guide that somebody put together, and I think maybe he got the values out of game files, or maybe he looked in a place in the manual that I couldn't find. But the movement speed effects, the fatigue effects, and the cohesion reduction effects of creek terrain are big. They just screw your unit up. Now, if a unit's sitting here in defense, okay, he's got that cover bonus, but he's also sitting in creek terrain. As long as that unit doesn't move, not a big deal. But as soon as you want that unit to advance, turn and go to another position, left or right, or even fall back out of that position because they're taking a buttload of casualties, right? It's going to take them forever. And they're in the creek terrain, and they're going to lose fatigue, and they're going to lose cohesion. So I'm going to move real slow, and cohesion itself doesn't directly affect the actual morale number, right? A low cohesion brigade isn't low morale per se. But what the cohesion does do, and I think fatigue as well, is while it doesn't lower morale on its own directly, it does make that unit more vulnerable to other things which cause loss of morale. Right? So if the unit is not under fire and gets out of the creek terrain to open ground or undercover somewhere else, forest, whatever, okay, but if that unit is under fire and it's moving in creek terrain, that morale is going to drop. And it's that kind of situation that causes premature routes where a unit breaks and runs. Again, not very quickly because they're stuck in creek terrain before they reach the limit of their loss resilience. So bottom line, don't worry about, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I don't worry, the very minor cover bonus of a creek to me is not remotely worth all the problems that come with trying to maneuver troops in the vicinity of creeks. It's just asking for trouble. That's my opinion, and that's just the way that, I've said enough about that. Oh, by the way, this is open ground here, right? Let's say you've got, and is this within our? No, that's not within our deployment zone. Can't use that creek. I'll just use this. Okay. Over here, right? Here's a creek. Okay. Here's this brigade. Let me get it set up like I want. Is there a fence there too? No. It's just the crops in the field. All right. So this is open. This is open terrain, and over here is open terrain. And let's say that I want Cabell to go from here to somewhere up here, right? Come up to this fence here. Okay. So I just click over here on this fence, like so. Something like that. Well, I can't actually have them move during deployment phase. But you get what I'm talking about. I tell them to move from here to here. It looks nice and open all the way across, right? Well, the very left tip of his brigade is over here right on this creek. And that creek terrain modifier extends out some ways. It may be just as far as what it visually looks like along here, this brush along the creek banks. It may extend out a little farther. I'm not exactly sure. But bottom line, it looks like he's advancing across open ground. Nah, he's getting affected by that creek, man. And his fatigue is going to get trashed, and his cohesion is going to get trashed, and he's going to move slow. Just because of this little tip over here extending over into the creek terrain. Alright? So, my recommendation to others, and what I try to do myself when I remember to do so, is take that into effect and try to keep these guys, when they're moving near a creek, to try to keep the edges of their battalions off of that terrain modifier. Because it can happen, I've seen it happen to me, that, you know, I order a movement, an attack, you know, an advance, whatever, across what looks like benign terrain, and my troops get just all screwed up with fatigue and cohesion, and soon morale afterward. And it's not apparent why. And it's because they're dragging their edge right along creek terrain and taking all those debuffs. Okay. I think I've spent enough breath on that. So that's my mantra. This isn't a creek. It's a rattlesnake. Stay away from it. Okay, let's get Cabell back over here. Not real happy with this position here, just because oh, by the way, much of what I've been talking about with creeks, a lot of that pertains to these doggone fences too. Especially when it comes to cavalry. Man, fences just cause cavalry to do some really wacky things. I'm going to get Cabell's brigade off that fence. There we go. And we'll put the Polignac kind of like that. There. That way at least they're not sitting on a fence the next time they try to move. Okay. All right. Okay, enough jabbering on about fences and creeks. Excuse me, not creeks. Rattlesnakes. Let's get time rolling. See if in fact we are correct with what we surmise about his. Let's just put a couple of skirms out, get a little bit more vision to our front. And plus, just because I like having skirms out. And let's get the Cav movement. Let's just come down this way and see if they run into some Federals. And he very well might. It is, you know, I've talked a little bit more, you know, in the past about, does the AI have fog of war? Do they not? Sometimes it seems they do. Sometimes it seems they don't. Maybe during deployment phase, he saw my guys right across that deployment boundary and decided he is going to come this way. It's possible. We'll see. Let's move. Let's go ahead and move Magruder up to this crest. That may be a little ambitious. Did I miss a Federal entry point? I don't think I did. Pretty much the entire map was underneath our. There they come. Okay. Well, the battle's going to happen pretty soon, but I'm going to put a quick cut in right here, and I will come back when the shooting's about to start. Okay, I've started advancing the divisions a little bit, and they're just about in skirmisher range now. And the artillery is just shifting position a little bit. I don't want them to get them over here kind of on this crest, and then they'll be unlimbering in a moment, and I think they're going to have shots on their units. This quote-unquote army, this is it. This is all they got. One cav brigade, one infantry brigade, one artillery battalion. There are no unspotted federal units back here. And so I don't think this is going to last very long. And I'm just moving the cav. They're kind of winding their way to be back behind them whenever the retreat starts, which I don't think will be very long from now, to be honest. Hey, don't blame me. I'm not the one who attacked her. Okay. Okay, looks like let's scooch that cavalry up a little bit. Get on top of this knoll. Something like that. Just like I was talking about, I'm not gonna advance my forces, at least not my brigades, over this creek for all the reasons I talked about before. Let him do that. I will also mention, though, most of my comments about the creeks pertain to full-size units. And I talked about how I didn't think that the cover bonus of a creek was worth all the downsides for units. That's not true for skirmishers. Okay, I think kind of holding along a creek is pretty good for skirms because the terrain effects don't really seem to affect them, or it probably does, but it's not nearly as significant, and they do get that little cover bonus. So kind of setting up a defensive position kind of behind a creek with breastworks and parapets, or if you got some forest or whatever, and then putting the skirms forward and putting them on the creek, yeah, that's a completely different story. That's pretty good. I like doing that. I'm going to tell a brigade to go across a creek, but, not under fire. I'm going to move Polignac across. So he'll be making this movement, and he's going to suffer those effects, but not under fire is the distinction. And let's go ahead and move this cavalry over directly behind them, between them and their escape route road. Okay, let's unlimber the artillery now. I think they're just about there, yeah. Of course, now I've managed to move an infantry brigade in front of them. Just kind of shift Junius Daniel. Let's just actually shift both of these guys kind of out of the way of the arty. Okay, and now let's advance Raines's brigade right up behind cover of these skirms. I'm telling them to go pretty fast. Oh my goodness. McCulloch, come up here closer to your divisional commanders. So now all three of those units are hung up in this creek terrain. center division almost in place here. Now I'm going to pull these skirmishers in. The Polignac is across the creek. It's still not formed up. Cabell's just got Springfield muskets, doesn't really have range. I'm really not. I think this brigade and these two brigades, Mississippi rifles, will be more than enough, along with the artillery, to deal with this clump of Federals. Let's go ahead and move the Cav up to about here. Well, let's go ahead and move Cabell up on this flank here, trying to keep the edge of his force out of that creek. Need to get this division commander over here. Okay, now let's get de Polignac advance just a little bit and make sure. Okay, can't give him a long range at the moment. Firing? Yeah. Okay. Cav Brigade wavering here. Well, Polignac, looks like you got guys within range. Why aren't you shooting? Because he's still at short range. That's why. Polignac gonna get in there. Yeah, whatever. $950 to 221. Okay, now the Polignac's opening up. First Brigade is kind of caught here. He's having to retreat, as it were. Let's get these skirmishers in. Deliver some flanking fire on this one remaining unbroken Federal unit. And the creek doesn't really hurt anymore. Just move. Just get everybody firing on this guy. See if we can get some prisoners for those POW camps that hopefully are open for business again. That's good. Yeah, so Hood's brigade just crossed that creek, and you can see his fatigue dropped to okay, and he's at failing cohesion. Marmaduke is just pressing right in on this brigade, and now he's got these fellows coming up behind. He's taking flanking fire from de Polignac and from skirmishers and from Waitman. Go ahead and have Marmaduke remount. These cavalry are slowed because they're in forest. I wonder if Hood can actually come over here and charge him. Get some prisoners. Built a bunch of POW camps and want to use them for whatever they're worth. No, keep charging him. Stay with it, Marmaduke. Yeah, okay. Hood wasn't able to reach the Cav. He might, however, see if he can get this artillery. Marmaduke is in melee, and he's very tired as a result. I don't really see that the Federal 1st Brigade is losing men. And get Hood in there too. I don't see that artillery. They may have disintegrated. They may have gotten all the guns and... Okay. Marmaduke. Keep going. I know you're exhausted, but you're not going to lose any men. I still don't think you are. Speed that up a little bit. Yeah, I think his movement was messed up by Hood's brigade. Keep going. Lost another 100 men. Okay, he's gonna make it out. And we're at 6 minutes left anyway. Okay, second battle of Rolla. Major victory. We lost 300 men. Montgomery lost 2,200. Have a look and see how many prisoners we got. No, that's the other army. prisoners taken. Looks like 154. Okay. We'll see if that number looks the same in the after battle report on the campaign map. Just to yammer on about terrain, you know, was talking about the creeks and fences, and you know, we talk a lot about how, well, the AI's dumb in this game. The decision making of the AI may not be always all that terrible, but you know, if a new player comes into this game, and you know, there's a lot of differences in Grand Tactician Civil War compared to many other games, most of the games in the genre. And man, you know, when I first started playing this game, I was getting all hung up on those creeks and fences and just all the time, and completely screwing up what I thought I was trying to accomplish. And they still do, right? Even when you know the pitfalls, there's so many of them on the map that you wind up, you know, and even knowing of them, it's hard to avoid getting negative effects like that. And so, you know, we saw right there that the AI got all hung up in that creek terrain. So dealing with terrain effects may be one area where the AI has problems, is all I'm trying to say there. Okay, so this says we captured 400, which is significantly higher than the number we saw in the in-battle HQ report, and that probably reflects that I think we completely wrecked that artillery battalion and caused them to surrender. So that's cool. And 1,500 rifles. Hopefully there's some Springfield rifles in there. And some 8 guns. Let's see if we can notice in the armory what we may have picked up. These look the same. That looks the same. Well, yeah, that looks the same. That looks the same. Yeah, I can't tell. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this in prior recording, but I did order a bunch of 12-pounder Iron Napoleons. 128. That'll help a lot. And the reason I ordered the iron ones is because I had an order ongoing with the regular Napoleons. I don't know if they're brass or bronze. Probably bronze. That's the only reason I went for the iron ones. They're pretty much the same in effectiveness, except the iron ones, for whatever reason, fire a little bit slower. But they have the same range, same accuracy, same damage. Yeah, I can't really tell what we picked up with those 1,500. It could have been just plain old Springfield muskets. These things. That number may be a little bit higher than what I had before. Which would make sense, right? I mean, the AI has to deal with these darn projects just like we do. You know, they start with some kind of pre-war campaign start stock, and then they got to navigate the policies and projects and delivery times and everything. So maybe they're running a little bit low on decent weapons as well. New cavalry unit up here. At St. Louis, Morgan's Cavalry, 2,500. That's a single brigade, but an independent force. That's interesting. Okay. Well, that battle didn't last very long. I think we can probably run time a little bit longer. Yeah, okay. So, Montgomery will be retreating here shortly. And I don't really... Going back to our plan of just kind of hanging out in winter quarters here in Missouri. Do have visibility. There is one army visible at Grafton, and that is McClellan's Army of Occupation. 22,000 men, projected to increase to 28,000. So I don't want Garnett moving any further this way. And it doesn't look like... It's showing 100% supply, but he's also not within... So I'm not exactly sure what he's getting supply from. But he was ordered to come to... I've given him a halt order. I don't know how fast it'll get there. I don't want him engaging McClellan. And I think it's a pretty safe bet that that other army, the Army of the Potomac, is probably not too far behind him. And would be within reinforcement range. Not gonna lie, getting a little bit antsy about... I haven't abandoned the plan, but I'm getting a little bit antsy about moving Hardee up the river. Because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 federal forces in Ohio and Indiana. And any one of them is not very threatening, but if they start combining, they could get pretty, yeah, we'll see. Individually, they're fairly small. There's no single force anywhere in here that is as big as Hardee's Corps. However, this West Virginia militia might be becoming a pain in the ass, partly because not doing it yet, but is in position to maybe take Covington, so we might have to go chase him away. But also because if he's sitting here, that's going to block Hardee's move up the river, because he'll be coming within West Virginia militia's combat radius. I'm not too worried about the battle which would result, but that's another kind of hiccup on the way of getting up into Western Virginia. So that's annoying. Oh, Hardee's got another perk. Movement speed 10%, maximum supplies 50%. Yep, flying column, the old standby. Watching other campaigns, I think that's pretty much everybody's first or, that's pretty much standard. Everybody uses that perk in their first or second slot. I wonder if we have any others. Aha! Johnston. So that's an army level perk. Let's see. I'm using Ambulance Corps down at the corps level, so that's redundant for the Army HQ. So is Flying Column. And there's no point to getting these because I'm 99% sure that they're not going to stack with the same perks at the corps level, right? I mean, if Hardee's Corps has got Ambulance Corps and Johnston's Corps has Ambulance, I don't think Hardee's Corps gets double effect from that. I'm going to do embedded reporters. Army-wide effect, and all the commandos will gain more fame. And that has a couple of nice effects because it's fame and leadership that keep the troops happy, right? That unhappy bonus from they don't like their leader enough, that's based on two attributes, fame and leadership. So this will help with the fame side, and I think that fame feeds back into into state support for the state of the officer in question. So I'm going to do embedded reporters for Army HQs. And for that matter, they haven't really done anything. They have been training. Maybe, no. Nope. Nope. Okay. Just double check these guys. Not quite. Garnet's getting close. And I can't tell if... Yeah, it looks like Beauregard may be getting close as well. Well, it's hard to tell. I see red here, clear here, and then red again over here. So I don't know if his fame bar is here or if it's almost full. They ought to make this little thing a little bit clearer. And let's check the Missouri Army for perks. Now see, that's weird because Hardy, you know, Sidney Johnston's Army HQ has done stuff, but so has Price. Price has fought 2 darn battles over here since becoming an Army HQ, so how come he's so much lower? I guess just because these forces, even though they've been fighting, haven't been moving as much. How about the Corps? Nope. Still hasn't unlocked a perk. Seems a little odd. This Corps has been fighting a lot. They fought a battle over here at Frankfurt, ran up here, fought another one in Ohio. Came back to Louisville, came down the river, fought a battle here in Indiana, and now they're moving back. This may be... So they have fought 3 battles all within the past month or so in game time. And it shows. You know, they've unlocked 2 perks. And that probably feeds back up into why Johnston's Army HQ gained a perk as well. I have not been paying attention to the Engineering Corps. Are you done? Yes, you are. Okay. Let's see. See, I would have expected that connection to Helena to come from Grenada or even Memphis. Nope, it's coming up from Lexington. But I think Batesville. Batesville should be within range to connect to the Memphis station. I want to go put one by Little Rock first, though. It just seems like there should be. Well, what happened? There it is. It just seems like there should be a telegraph station at the state capital of Arkansas. Let's come on over here. Oh, it's going to take the river. That's fine. And I'm going to let... so Hardy's right on the edge. I'm going to let him gain a little readiness. He's already fine for supply. And there's plenty of stuff in this depot, except for artillery and small arms ammunition. But there's lots of everything else. Didn't notice, but you also, these exclamation points that come up also appears down here. We've got one saying, hey, if you wanted to, you could build a mill or a saltworks. Well, no, I don't need to build any saltworks. I could be talked into a mill to transform, to work crops into flour. That would be good. But I'm saving ag subsidies for that farm mechanization project that I talked about earlier. Let's run a little time. Let's go ahead and run time to, unless something big happens, we'll run time to maybe about December 1st. Okay, back up into green readiness. And that West Virginia militia may not be there anymore. Let's check and see. I'm not going to completely pause time, but I'll slow it down. Let's check and see if these other... Yeah, okay. So we can move this artillery battalion over to Hill's Corps. It'll take 5 days. And we need to get Hill an artillery division. Excuse me, cavalry division. Is that going to be Isaac Trumbull? I don't think so. How about, let's look for a nice Cav guy if we have any. Yeah, Maryland Stewart will work. And we'll transfer McCulloch's new brigade over to Stewart. Okay, so it'll take them 5 days to get over to Knoxville. And then we'll be able to transfer this corps under Sidney Johnston's command. That market is almost done at Knoxville. Okay, he's starting to capture Covington. Yeah, can't have that. Johnston, off you go. And let's just have him take the river. Kind of liking this river movement thing along the Ohio. We've used that a lot in this campaign. And let's make sure Sidney Johnston gets up here as well. And actually, Hardy is not showing that winter movement debuff when he's actually on the river. So that's another huge bonus. Kind of hoping these guys just retreat instead of making us fight a battle. Nope. Okay, 5,700 men under Scott, Winfield Scott, no Cav, 7 guns, so he's got some kind of little artillery battalion. Right, so we're going to have another battle here at Covington. Which will be pretty similar to the last battle in that we've got almost a 3-to-1 advantage in troop strength. And I believe that will have to wait for the beginning of the next episode. If you like what we're doing with the channel, like the content, then leave a like and leave a comment. Perhaps even subscribe. But at any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.